At this graduation dinner, Weston gets bit by a spider and ends up in a coma.
Swagged out, familiar, we bringing them gas out. I still got some racks stuffed in the trap house. Off the 42, I'm blowing her back out. I'm back out, bullshit. Swim back with a full clip. They say
This is the fastest I've ever come off of a terrible book and made a video about, because y'all are not gonna believe, okay? This was another TikTok recommendation. I started this book just like the last one a very long time ago. I wish I would have DNFed it. But when I stopped reading this book months ago, I was 84% through the book. So last night, I was like, you know what? Let me just finish it. I just need to see how it is. The book is called Original Sin by Mila Crawford, and it is a walking trigger warning. Everything in this book is a trigger warning, okay? This book is the definition of y'all had me in the first half. I feel like Mila, she probably had a ghostwriter for the last part, because there's no way the first part was just so cute and nice. Like I said, it wouldn't be my video if it wasn't some cars going by hella fast. Anyways, how did the book start off so great and then turn ridiculous? I'm gonna give y'all a synopsis and then I'm gonna tell y'all my thoughts, because there's just so much to unpack here, okay? So we in New York, right? Main character's name is Caitlin. She got a brother named Henry. He's a little bit older. He's a dickhead, right? Remember that, he's a dickhead. And so her best friend, her childhood best friend's name is Weston. Weston is their maid's son. So they're really rich. Their dad is really rich, and their mama drowned in the ocean because they live near the ocean. Their mama drowned in the ocean, okay? Remember that. And so Caitlin and Weston, they're the same age, I believe, and they grew up besties. They was like this, right, since they was little. And he would always protect her from her older brother, because Henry was a dickhead. Like, he would try to beat her up, and like when he was with his friends, he would like bully her like his own blood sister, right? And he hated Weston even more, okay? So remember that. And so what happened? Obviously, they childhood friend, Weston and Caitlin, they best friends, and you know, they real, you know, since they was little. So when they get to be teenagers in high school, you know, they confess they love, and then they do it on the beach. That's her first, that's his first. I think that's his first. And so they do it on the beach, right? Then his mom, Weston's mom, who is the maid, drowns in the ocean, I think, or she died somehow. And so because Caitlin's dad loves him and you know, respected his mother so much, adopted Weston into their family. So legally, they are siblings, not by blood. You know, some people are like, oh my God, that's weird, that's incest. No, it's not, because they was in love before all that happened, right? So they are siblings. They live in the same house. And that pisses Henry off a lot, because Henry already don't like the dude. And he started talking about his dead mama and whatever, and then they get into a fight, and then the dad, I think the dad likes Weston more than his own son, because his son is a dickhead, like I said. And so Weston gets whooped or something. I don't remember. But anyway, that happens. And so what happens after that? What happens after that? Okay, so then remember that, like, this is just minor shit that happens, okay? Like, this didn't even need to be a plot, but you know how they need to introduce characters somehow. So Henry, at this point, they're teenagers. They're like in high school. They're about to graduate in like a couple years or whatever. And so Henry invites some college friends over, because Henry's older. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's older and he's already out of school. So he has a college friend named Eddie, and Caitlin has a little crush on Eddie, even though she has a thing for Weston. But just remember that. Like, just remember Eddie, okay? Remember Eddie. This is where it starts getting off the road. Like I said, it started off real cute and the story was good, and you know, their relationship, like Weston and Caitlin, was real cute. Then it gets ridiculous. Like, this, you can't make this shit up, okay? Right? Listen, this is what happens. So they're going to graduate. They're graduating high school. They're so excited. Whatever, right? They're at this graduation dinner. Weston gets bit by a spider and ends up in a coma. You heard me right. He gets bit by a spider and ends up in a coma. Now, I don't remember if their dad died before or after this happened, but I'm pretty sure the dad died before all of that happened. So they had money in a will, and Weston was definitely getting some of that money in the will, even though Henry was like, he don't deserve shit. Like, he not even related, right? But, you know, the dad really liked him and, you know, thought he could be something in life, whatever. The man ends up in a coma from getting bit by a spider. And Caitlin is like, oh, like, you know, like, I have to leave. We can't be together, da, da, da. Like, your money, this is your money. Here's your money. And we got to go on with our lives. Blah, blah, blah. That's where the story cuts for a minute, okay? The story cuts. Hold on. And we get a jump, okay? I want to add commentary so bad to this part because I need y'all to understand, but I'm going to just tell y'all how the story continues, okay? So he gets out of his coma. He got his money. And we don't get, you know how when things happen in stories, we get, like, perspective? We didn't really get a perspective. We just got Weston talking about himself to where he thought, like, he was hot shit. You know how, like I said, I will get to the commentary after, right? Caitlin, however, ends up living with her brother Henry at the estate. He is an alcoholic, and he body shames her a lot from the beginning of the book, like all the way since they were teenagers to her adulthood. He calls her fat and all kind of shit, right? Because I guess she was plus size. I don't know if she was plus size. I'm confused about that part, but he was calling her fat and telling her she gained weight, whatever. But her brother SAs her biological brother. He's an alcoholic. He SAs her a lot. He calls her a slut because he found out that she was hooking up with Weston. And I guess, I don't know if it was Henry or Eddie. So Caitlin ends up marrying Eddie, the cute college friend, her brother's cute college friend, who was also an alcoholic. And so I don't know who it was, but the reason that she kind of pulled away from Weston was because I guess Henry was going to kill him or something. I don't know. But yeah, she ends up marrying Eddie. They end up moving like a couple houses down on the same beach. Eddie is an alcoholic just like her brother, and he likes to do this thing, trigger warning, he likes to do this thing. It's non-consensual CNC, because you know CNC is CNC, but she doesn't like it, but he's into the whole CNC thing. So non-consensual on her part, but it's still a CNC thing for him. So if that makes sense, like she does this with him non-consensually, but you get what I'm saying? Like, her husband essays her a lot, and he likes to play this game where she runs and she really doesn't want it, and whatever. And so they, anyway, when he gets drunk, I will not elaborate further. Okay, so while she's married to Eddie, we get this whole montage of Weston, and now he's this angry at the world. It's very much giving, you know, when a dude gets their heart broken in the 5th grade or like in high school, and then they never let it go, and so they're mad at the world forever. That is where we're at. Weston is that, and he's like, oh, I'm a hitman, and then I became a hitman, and now that I'm so respected as a hitman, now I'm this mafia boss. Doesn't make sense. Like, it's just him talking about himself. We don't get no build up to it, no storyline, no how did we get here. It's just, oh, I'm hot shit now, I hate everybody, she's everything to me, I'm killing and I'm angry, and she turned me into a monster. Anyways, you need therapy. And so he comes back to the estate now that he's rich and big ballin' and untouchable, He comes back to the estate, beats Henry up because Henry is fat and drunk and nasty. The house looks a mess. There's nobody taking care of it, no maids, no nothing. He done blew all the money. He just lives in this big ass house. So he beats Henry up real bad, like within an inch of his life. And Henry's just laying there bloody, gurgling, eyes closed, whatever. Right? Remember that. Finds Caitlin and her husband playing their game on the beach. And trigger warning again. He pulls up. There is some butt stuff with a knife between Weston and Eddie. What happens after that? Him and Caitlin have this like weird reunion thing, and then I don't remember how we got here, but somehow Eddie is in the bed at their house, a couple houses down from the estate, and I don't know if they're both tied to the bed, or one. Eddie's definitely tied to the bed, and so Weston does her next to her husband, who is a very sick individual, and then very intense, very weird scene. And then he kills her husband in their bed next to her. Blood splatters all over her. Then he tells her, girl, go get a burger and I'm going to get rid of this body. Like, you need an alibi. Go act like you was going to get you a burger, right? Remember that. She goes to get a burger. He disposes of her husband's body. Eddie is gone. Okay? Now, y'all remember when I said Henry was on the floor beaten within an inch of his life? Somehow, Henry woke up from that terrible beating. Mind you, he's a drunk. And was able to handcuff himself to Caitlin. He found her. I don't know how he found her, but somehow in this story he found her, handcuffed himself to her, and dragged her to a beach. I don't know if he had a gun. I think he had a gun. And attempted to SA her, right? So Weston was like, I told you to get a burger where you at. She wasn't answering. Don't know how he found her. He found her at the beach with Henry. And like I said, the girl is a big girl. So I don't know how your brother, who was very severely beaten, was able to overpower you and handcuff himself to you and drag you to a beach, because I cannot believe that you were that fucking weak. But anyway, not victim blaming at all. It just don't make sense. It starts getting worse, okay? So while they're at the beach, I forgot what Weston did, because this is the point where I started reading months ago. Beats Henry up again. I believe he like carves him up or something, and then he carves something on her, his initials on her. I don't remember who did that before or after, don't know. But this is all in the same day, mind you. This is all the same day. He's starting to try to kill Henry while they're handcuffed together, and she does that thing. You know that thing where like, oh my God, no, like, look at me. This isn't true. Like, look at me. She does that to him while he's covered in blood. And she starts trying to seduce him. And he's like, he says this 4 times. I just want to, 4 times. He says, if I start, I won't be able to stop. 4 times. And so they start doing it while she's handcuffed to her badly beaten biological brother. And Weston stops. And he decides that he wants to cut Henry's hand off because he's still handcuffed to her. And she's like, oh my God, ew, it's so nasty, don't know, right? And so he cuts his hand off, so they're no longer handcuffed to each other. Blood all over his hands. He's grabbing, you know, and shoves his bloody hand in her. I'm sorry, so many trigger warnings. And then, like I said, it doesn't make sense. Henry somehow is alive. Shoots her. How do you keep getting beaten within an inch of your life? Your hand is cut off. You had to have passed out from the loss of blood. Shoots Caitlin. We get a time skip. The book is only 300 something pages, so I don't know. I will get to the commentary after. I'm sorry. They in the hospital. Weston is acting a fool, punching holes in the hospital wall, like literally punching holes in the walls of the hospital. I don't know how he got kicked out, how he didn't get kicked out, but he has his friend comes, clears everything up with the police. Was like, oh yeah, like he kidnapped his sister and he stabbed him and da da da. Lies to police, whatever. I don't know why the police would just believe that, but dude's hysterical. Like, Weston is crying and on his knees and covered in blood and doing the most, sliding down the wall, shitting, throwing up, all that. In the hospital, punching holes in the hospital wall. Threatening doctors. Money is not an issue to me. Fly whoever you need to do. Save her, save her, save her. She gets out of surgery from her bullet wound. He goes in there, kisses her. And it's a time skip 6 years later. This is how the book ends. Mind you, when I said I stopped at the beach scene before he slept with her. That was 84% of the book. So this is the ending. Like, this is how the book ends, right? 6 years later, they're married. They had to wait a year for Eddie to be legally considered deceased. Nobody ever asked about Eddie. Nobody gave a fuck. He takes her to the woods. And he gives this whole speech before we get into the woods. That after everything that she's been through, he never wants to be aggressive with her. He only wants to make love to her lovingly. Mind you, for 90% of the book, well, except for when they were teenagers, after he, became this monster, was being very aggressive with her, very, like, heavy on the degrading, talked about killing her, but loved her so much, and all this kind of other crazy shit. So now, all of a sudden, he wants to be soft. It just doesn't make sense, what happened to all that other shit she was talking for most of the book. But then he was like, oh, like, I'll ever only be aggressive with her if she wants me to. And then a couple pages later, she wants me to, so I'm gonna do it. And she told me that those games that she would play with her husband, she would willingly play with me because, she loves me and blah, 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 right? Whatever. They do the whole she running in the forest and he buys her a whole bunch of cabins in the woods. And they do it in the forest. They do butt stuff in the forest. And they go home. Heavy on the degrading. He makes her crawl. It was weird, okay? They get home and she's like, he tells her that he wants kids and a dog, and she's like, you want kids? And he's like, yeah, I want kids and everything with you. And she was like, okay, well, I'm pregnant. And that's how the book ends. The end. Now I'm gonna commentate, okay? Because I had to just tell y'all the story. That shit was so bad. I'm sorry, I just had to pause. Like, Mila couldn't have written this whole book, because how did it start? Like, I'm telling y'all, I'm not even making this up. It started off really cute. It did, and then it got weird. Usually, when we have a villain origin story, there's a flow of events. And we're usually, as the reader, we're taken along for those flow of events. It's not just the cocky character explaining to us why he became this way. Because then he just sounds like an idiot and a narcissist. Like, I came this way, I turned into this monster because she turned me away, and now I'm this big whatever, and nobody can touch me, and I got rich, and they couldn't fuck with me, and shut up. Like, it didn't even sound cool when he said it. I was just like, all right, whatever. Like, you was a cool dude when you was a teenager, and you got bit by a spider, and now you acting up. Like, you knew. Like, you obviously, and it wasn't like a shock, because he knew that once the dad died, that things would be weird between the head of the house, which was he already stated that in the beginning. Like Henry's gonna be the head of the house once their father dies. So, what the fuck were you expecting? Like, you knew that, and he knew that's probably why she did that. Like he knew it wasn't a secret or a shock. So the fact that you're acting angry at the world and you're killing people and you're being so, oh, I'm such a villain, I'm so you're not the fucking Joker. Like, God, it was just so hard to read. It was so cringy. And so Caitlyn, I don't know why her ass was so weak. Like, I'm not victim blaming at all, but like, anyway, that girl. There was a part when they were on the beach, and he told her like, "Oh, I don't want you like this," like, because you know he was about to kill Henry. And she's like, "I don't care. Like, use my body to bring yourself back to me, bring yourself back to us. Like, this isn't you, girl. Shut the fuck up. Like, what? Ugh, can't stand her. I can't. I liked her in the beginning. Can't stand her. Like." It's like the whole part after he got bit by a spider was just ass. Like, that was the worst. And then it was like a lot of the things that were happening, and like the way that Weston was talking to her after he came back. You love her, but it just seemed like he was saying like weird, foul shit to her just for like the shock value, because like he never considered himself her brother. But when he came back and he was like, "Oh, you like your brother, huh?" Like it was weird. It was weird, y'all. And there was no reason for him to talk to her like that. And then like after everything happened at the very end, he's like, "Oh, I only ever want to be soft with her." And if that was how you felt, why were you acting like that when you came back? And like there was no reason for him to treat her like shit when he came back, because you know it was he kept talking about how he loved her so much and she's the air that he breathes and all kind of, bro, this shit was just so ass. Like, I don't even know. The book was only 300 some pages. It was very rushed for the second half. None of it made sense. Mila, don't ever write no shit like this again. I didn't know it was possible to hate a book more than I hated the first. Like the other book that I said, I wish I would have DNFed this book, because what the fuck? Like, bro, I was recommended this by TikTok. Nobody, I don't know if they just didn't read the whole book, but they was giving me cute scenes. Anyway, they was giving me cute scenes from, you know, the beginning, and bro, I just don't read this book. Like, it's literally a trigger warning from it's a trigger warning. Like, there's no reason for none of this shit to be happening. A lot of essay, unnecessary essay. He degrades her for no reason. Even when they were teenagers, he never spoke to her like that. But then all of a sudden, he was speaking to her like that. And then at the end, he didn't want to speak to her like that. But then he was like, actually, no, I do want to speak to her like that. And, I mean, it's a poor commentary on the fact that a lot of people do like CNC as a way to deal with their trauma. But it just seemed like they were just doing it for shock value, because, like, he was like, yeah, like, I only talk to her like that because it's part of her pleasure, and, you know, she like, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know. The shit was awful. I wouldn't even get this shit 1 star. I'm not gonna lie. Like, even though the beginning, the dude got bit by a spider and ended up in a coma and then turned into the Joker. Like, girl. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. I want to read more terrible books because I just cannot believe somebody sat down and wrote this and got this shit published. Like, what the girl, bye. Anyway, subscribe to be along for the ride. I'm not putting the link to this book in the description. Don't buy this shit, okay? I'll be on Twitch. Goodbye. I need to go drink some water or something because I need my time back.